Okay. Welcome. Whoops. Welcome to today's webinar, and I think today it may not be a particularly long webinar, but hopefully really useful because I've cut out any fluff, which I hopefully normally do, and it's all just really good quality stuff. Now, a couple of quick housekeeping things before we go on. Today's webinar is about a different angle on ticket affiliate monetization and getting money out of it. And I just wanted to mention before going into that right at the moment in my kind of ticket network music affiliate action, basically in March, half of all revenue has actually come from just two artists, which is Luke Bryan and Jason Aldean. And to be honest, I actually hadn't heard of those guys before, a couple of weeks ago. And I think one of the things that's significant about that is it shows how you do need to have kind of various kind of vehicles for getting that concert or theatre or other types of income from ticket affiliate. If you remember back to December, back then it was actually all one direction, so it can fluctuate a lot. And obviously if you've got like a cheap tickets kind of general portal site where you can quickly create different pages for different shows or different artists, and that just gives you a lot more flexibility. So I think in December, I haven't actually broken down the numbers, but I think probably close to half of the revenue was from one direction, and that was close to a $4,000 a month. And in March already, just from music income, not theatre, which is a lot more spread around, these two guys are very hot right now, Luke Bryan and Jason Aldean. So I think they've got a lot of shows coming up. There's some big country festival touring a lot around America. Those guys are probably the headline acts for it, so if you get in on that quickly and start SEOing for it, you should pick up some money on it as well. The other thing just to pay attention to, and I'll jump over to the training just to show you, is that tomorrow I'm going to be running, it's the first time I've done a kind of SEO test like this, which is a 3-hour maximum. I've set myself to actually create a very light content site and do all of the SEO for it. So the whole thing is within 3 hours. I'm targeting a term in the dating niche. And the goal here is actually part of a bigger group of experiments to see how little content I can rank with. So in this particular case, for the 3-hour one, I'm going to be just doing about 100-ish, maybe slightly more words of content on 5 pages. We'll be publishing that, running it through IMTalk Mass Submitter, getting a slingshot, SE slingshot, 100 posts, blog network run done on it, all within about 3 hours. Excuse me. And hopefully we should see action from that within a few days. And when we do next week, as soon as there's some rankings action from that, I'll just put all of that information up. You'll be able to see the site and the exact keywords I've gone after there. So quite an interesting experiment. And the other elements of that experiment are actually ranking pages that have no content at all. I'd like with this one that I'm got the 3-hour time limit on to actually have a little bit of conversion monetization action going through to a ClickBank product, and hopefully getting some sales if I can get traffic and rankings there. But the others, as Tony Golan has rightly pointed out, are kind of based more around firstly seeing if I can rank in a particular term, how quickly with these kind of empty sites, and then coming along and adding the content to it and not doing it up front and investing all of that time and resource. So hopefully that will be quite an interesting one to keep an eye on. Now let me come back to our PowerPoint. So in the ticket niche, and obviously when I did the best webinar ever, whenever that was, a couple of weeks ago maybe, I think, I talked a lot about, I kind of revealed this ticket niche and how lucrative it potentially is, and I think from getting into it there, we focused a lot on like music and theatre, and I want to kind of explore another big, potentially very lucrative side of the ticket niche as well. And that niche is actually in sports. So even if you know nothing at all about sports, or even if you're outside the US and you're going after US sports, really doesn't matter. The point is that there's a huge opportunity there. So at any given time, there are roughly, from my research that I've been doing, are anything from 8 to 8,500 separate US sports events on the Ticket Network. So, and many of these teams, professional sports teams, have absolutely huge search volume. So, and I'm talking kind of 500,000 to well over 1 million searches a month. And that partly kind of indicates that you're probably working with a very long tail. And obviously buyer intent in terms of tickets is going to vary a lot on each of those terms, but you're still working with a pretty huge base of searches each month. And I think, as you'll see from some examples that I'll show you shortly, the search volume in the sports niche there in the US leaves most niches for dead just in terms of pure volume there. I'll just come over in a moment. I'll just come over to show you in the Google Keyword Planner. There is one caveat, at least one, and with this event volume, the thing is sports ticket prices can be lower. So I have seen, for example, some baseball teams will even have tickets as low as $5. Obviously, they're not really good seats, but they can go up pretty high, of course, up to the VIP seating, and I have no idea what sort of averages are until I do a lot more work. And at the moment, we're working on building a big site that's like a general discount sports ticket site, kind of separate to what I'm doing in music and theatre. But just bear in mind that you can have some low ticket prices there, but if you've got the search volume, I don't think that's as big an issue. And as we're going to see in a moment, for example, a team like Miami Heat, and that term is getting close to 2 million searches a month, and not too many niches can kind of claim that. Obviously, not all of those are for tickets, specifically for tickets, but you know, a smaller proportion of them are, and there is kind of a lot of interest there. So let me just jump over to the Keyword Planner here. So here, for example, if you can see this on my screen, actually, let me just make it a bit larger. So here, I'm dealing with a bunch of terms on the Atlanta Braves, and that's a baseball team, I hope, I'm pretty sure, in the US. So on Atlanta Braves, we've got 500,000 search volume there. One of the things that you want to watch out for when looking for keywords is that word schedule, as in schedule of games, is quite a popular search term. So theoretically, anybody interested in the schedule of games, some of those might potentially be interested in tickets to go to those games. Now, it could be that they just want to find out when the games are on and watch TV, but you're still dealing with a lot of search volume. Just on Braves tickets and Atlanta Braves tickets, that adds up to about 37,000 a month in that one. Over here on Miami Heat, as I mentioned before, 1.8 million searches there a month, 250,000 on the schedule. Tickets, you've got over 40,000 a month on between Miami Heat tickets here and Heat tickets there. So quite a healthy amount there to work with. New York Yankees, you can see here what the numbers are like. They're pretty huge. When we come down to tickets, here we're talking more like about 26,000 a month specifically for tickets and another 22,000 for schedule. So I do think there's quite a strong long tail there that we're dealing with as well. So let me just pop back to PowerPoint. Obviously, it's more work, but what you can consider doing is to look at list building for fans of certain teams. So you might, you know, potentially build a Miami Heat fan base, or you know, for email marketing when you've got tickets available that you can send out to them, things like that. If you want to invest that extra time and work in it, probably a pretty good idea. So just to give you an idea of Ticket Network's sports coverage in the US, we've got obviously the baseball, we've got NBA, NFL, we've got hockey, or ice hockey as it might be known elsewhere, soccer. I've had a look, even though it's obviously not in that elite league of sports in the US, they're trying to publicize it a lot more. You've got a lot more English players, for example, promoting the game. And actually the search volume, it's not too bad. It's not in the mega league of the others or Miami Heat, but it's still not too bad and worth considering. When I checked on Ticket Network, there were close to 200 professional tennis events that you could get tickets for. You also have NCAA, which is like college basketball, I think. Ultimate Fighting Championship has tickets available through Ticket Network. You've got wrestling as well. And you also have, I think, close to 200 golf events in the US that have tickets available on Ticket Network. So you can see, obviously, you're kind of really spoiled for choice there. Just a ton of events. Now, if I just come back to Ticket Network here, if we come, and obviously we can see sports up here, so we've got a whole bunch of a range of potential sports here. There's also boxing. I didn't mention that one. NASCAR. Just before you actually do any page building or site building, just make sure that you actually go into Ticket Network and make sure that you don't hit a screen like this. So at the moment it looks like they don't actually have NASCAR tickets available and they're getting people on a mailing list, and actually that's not a bad tactic to adopt as well on your own sites. But because of the way Ticket Network works, which is kind of like a reseller, a ticket reseller as far as I can gather, they may list events on here that they may not right at the moment actually hold tickets for. So obviously it's much better if you can come along, and I'll show an example here in baseball. So if I click on, I'll just go for San Diego Padres, for example. So here we've got a whole load of actual fixtures. You can also see here, I mentioned this a bit later, that spring training, they sell tickets for like trial games as well. So you can see here that Ticket Network clearly has tickets available. And over here, if you can just see, let me try and zoom it in a little bit, we can see the price range. So for San Diego Padres, you've got a price range of $41 up to $463. One of the nice features they've got here is if you click on any of the seats, they actually give you a kind of image. It's sort of like Google Map Street View thing, where you can just kind of get a feel for what it looks like in each area. Okay, maybe not working on that one. Yep. It's actually not a bad widget to have on your own website, and even if it's not a functioning one, just to get the click-through to the fixture list on Ticket Network. And that's certainly something I'll be playing around with. And unlike music events where you've got, for example, like a Justin Bieber tour where he's going to 30 different cities and 30 different venues, so you can't really put up a seating map for Chicago or New York. You can't necessarily vary it that easily for each person. Here, where you've got a fixed sporting event at a certain ground, you can obviously throw up the seating diagram just as an extra hook to try to get that click through to Ticket Network. So if I come back to PowerPoint, so obviously with the sports, it's actually a lot like the music tours. They only go for a finite period each year. So I think because we just had Super Bowl not long ago, the NFL season just kind of ended. Baseball season is getting close. All of those seasons obviously occupy a different period during the year, and that's where having a good general sports ticket kind of website is probably better than maybe having individual sport-focused or even individual team-focused websites. So as I said, when we were looking at Google Keyword Planner, we've got lots of different search terms there, and there would be a pretty long tail, and the buyer intent would vary a lot. Until we can get better sort of keyword tracking information, since Google sort of turned that off and encrypted that, it's kind of quite tricky to know exactly how people are finding it and if they're converting, which is a shame. But I think it's just a case of driving a lot of traffic to your pages. So some keywords just to think about when you're researching your site setup, your pages setup. Look at things like schedule. So you want to add schedule to a sporting team. These can vary from sport to sport. Some terms work in some, but not others. Spring training is great for baseball, but obviously doesn't work for the others, I think, because they're different times of the year. I mean, I'm not an expert on those sports, but I think you've got to dig a bit and just find the relevant exact terms in each case. There you've got roster as well, their roster of current players. You could there be talking more about people just generally sort of interested in the comings and goings of the team, who they're recruiting, who they're losing, and that kind of thing. So not necessarily directly relevant for tickets, but if you can get some rankings for it, why not pick up some traffic there? There we are with spring training, which basically is kind of pre-season trial matches. Spring training schedule, we're back to that term schedule, is a popular one. And you also have this interesting one, and I don't think many people are directly SEO targeting quite a few of these terms, but especially something like Turner Field, which is the Braves' home ground, I think, until 2016. I don't think that many people are really SEO targeting Turner Field seating chart, but it sort of makes sense that if they're looking at a seating chart for that baseball venue, then they may well be thinking about tickets. In fact, that might be a good one for more like list building as well. Obviously there we've got just the normal ones, the Braves tickets or Atlanta Braves tickets, and there are often slang names for teams or shortened names for them as well, so don't rule those out. And team ticket exchange, what I mean by that is you would look up like Braves ticket exchange or Knicks ticket exchange, that kind of thing. So just add your team, that team you're kind of targeting to that ticket exchange term. So just some thoughts there on keyword research. So that kind of leads us naturally into what I'm doing here, and I'm not necessarily saying this is the best approach, but it has worked for me quite well in music and theatre, so I'm just replicating that in sports. If you happen to stumble across a better way of doing it, more power to you, but this is just to give you some ideas. So I think, as I said, the best way to go about it, and there are certain drawbacks that I'll come to in a moment with this, but I think overall it's a good strategy, is to have a general discount sports ticket site, not a specific team, because you want to have coverage throughout the year and you don't want to be kind of dormant on sales while there's no hockey, for example, or no NFL, unless you've got a pretty big portfolio, maybe you've got other sites that you're invested in covering those other things, but that may not necessarily be the best use of resources. Within this general discount sports ticket site, you would have each page would be optimized around kind of one team, or it might be a particular event. So for example, Braves ticket terms could be one page that you're optimized for, in the same way that you might optimize for a Justin Bieber concert page or a Taylor Swift concert page. You could also obviously have UFC ticket pages, US golf, open tickets, things like that. Now, if you've been following the previous webinar or what I've written on my 3-hour SEO experiment or updating this niche in the training, I've found that with my new pages that I've been adding, so when you think of people like Jason Aldean or whatever, all I did was just write about 100 to 120 words of original content, and the rest is all videos and pictures, and that's it, and a ton of affiliate links. That's it, nothing more than that. So you can see it's pretty quick to create these pages for each kind of new team or event type. So we've just got that small amount of text. we've got those YouTube videos, keyword optimized images. Typically the way I do it is with a file name of the picture. I tend not to overdo it by also having identical alt text. You could just put your keyword within a longer string of alt text. So let's say, for example, I've got an Atlanta Braves page, so I might be the picture file name could be Atlanta Braves tickets.png or .jpeg, all one word. Dashes can also work. And if you want to use alt text, it could be something like, click here to find out more about Atlanta Brave tickets available today, something like that. So you've woven it in and it doesn't look quite so over-optimized with the alt text and the file name being absolutely identical, but images are a great opportunity to, show relevancy. Obviously, then you've got your affiliate links, and just like the music ones, I actually don't cloak those. They're just straight up raw ticket network affiliate links. I've never had a problem ranking on Google with all those affiliate links, and my page is absolutely packed with them. And you can also consider, as I sort of discussed there, putting the stadium seating plan image with the affiliate link to the relevant ticket network page. Unfortunately, you can't really link it to a specific game because that date may not suit the person who wants to buy a ticket. So it's got to kind of link to the list of fixtures for that particular team. That kind of makes the most sense to me. So what I would do, if your SEO resources are not that great, I would start small with something like 5 to 10 pages, and you could pick out one of your team pages to be your home page. So it might, for example, be your Miami Heat one, if we're coming into that season, or another. Good baseball could be a good one just for your home page. And what the main expense here, and this is kind of part of the drawback, but it's true of kind of any niche that you're active in, is the SEO work on each new page is the main expense here. So if you build out kind of slowly, so let's say you start out with like 5 baseball team tickets pages, and you just start out doing SEO on a few of those, 2 or 3 of those. Your SEO, you can probably get away with $100 to $150 per new page that you create in terms of SEO. And when you've got some momentum there, and hopefully you've got ticket sales and you've got some income there, you can reinvest that onto SEO for new pages. But actually creating the new pages, you shouldn't be hiring a writer or anything like that. Once you've got your layout well sorted out and your template kind of going, obviously, creating new pages is nothing. You can do that very, very quickly. But then it's just, having the resource to have that SEO work done on each new page. One thing I did notice as a kind of general observation, compared with music, tickets, and even theatre, I think, the big sports terms are quite competitive SEO-wise, but the long tail is definitely substantial there. And one of the things you can do, because we know that the Google Keyword Planner tends to hide a lot more terms than it reveals, is to use the Keyword Snatcher, and we can run just a huge list for you if you want. That's a free service inside the training, doing Keyword Snatcher. But what you can also do is to just have a look at all of the Google Instant results, and there's a way to do that with Keyword Snatcher where you just only select Google, and you can actually see it cycling through all of the Google Instant results, and as soon as that's finished you can just stop it, download those, and just upload them into the Google Keyword Planner and just check. And hopefully that's going to give you some good extra long tails to go into. So I hope that sort of makes sense there. So let's jump on to a few questions. Actually, before we do that, let me just jump back to my browser and make sure that I covered everything that I wanted to there. Just very quickly, so here we've got a whole bunch of golf events. I'm not sure about the actual ticket prices on golf events. Okay, they look like they're much cheaper because you've got loads of people into the ground, so that could be an issue. And on tennis, we've got this Indian Wells one here, and tickets on this one are up to $820 each. And if you think people are reluctant to spend that kind of money, I mean, I saw in December One Direction ticket sales were like $1,500, I think. Yesterday, from memory, we had one Luke Bryan ticket purchase is like $500. If people are going in a group, you know, they might be going with a group of friends, they can spend a lot of money. So actually that's probably a good filtering mechanism before you decide exactly which teams, which sports you're going to look at, is to go in and just see that the higher price is pretty substantial. So there, as we saw in the golf, if that particular golf tournament only goes up to you know, $30 a ticket or whatever. Let's have a look at a more famous one here, maybe. Not being a golfer, I'm not hugely familiar with what the best one would be. This Arnold Palmer Invitational. Okay, so even here, it only goes up to $82. So that could be, you know, something that to really consider, and you might be better off targeting a different sport. If we just have a quick look over at something like UFC, if they have tickets there at the moment. So we can see we've got events through March right up to December, so you've got a nice spread throughout the year. So if we have a look here, we can see on UFC the tickets, the bottom price on these is $311 and the maximum is almost $3,000. I think I know what one of my first pages is going to be now. Actually, we're working on all of baseball ones, but seeing that shows me that that is a really good one to get into as well. I haven't done the keyword research on it yet or seen what the deal is in Keyword Planner. But if the tickets start at $300 and go up to $3,000, that's definitely one to get into. Let's have a quick look also over at wrestling and see. I don't think they'll be as high, but let's just have a look. Yep, so they go up to $437 there. They might sell out quite quickly as well because they're quite small stadiums probably. And the same would go for boxing, I guess. How about a Manny Pacquiao, if that's how you pronounce him? Not a lot of tickets available for sale for these, but tickets from $200 up to $16,000. So, and because we can create pages quite quickly, it's kind of worth having a punt on those, even though there aren't necessarily a lot of seats, and each event doesn't come along, you know, that often in boxing. But I think you can see there obviously quite a lot of potential. Even if you just picked up one or two ticket sales from that, that would justify quite a lot and could be reinvested elsewhere. Okay, so that was kind of short and sweet and quickly to the point. So let me jump over and see what some questions are. So Rob has asked, Terry, did I hear you say you don't have ranking issues with a lot of affiliate links on a page? Here's my experience, Rob, and I don't pretend that this is a universal experience for everybody. I've always had trouble with Amazon affiliate links in terms of Google slapping those sites, but other affiliate networks like Ticket Network, not a problem, and my ticket pages, which normally rank really fast and really high through a few blog network links, are absolutely packed with raw open affiliate links. Now, it may not work forever, of course, and that could change, but for a long time that's been the case with those. Rob also asks, do you find partial match domains don't rank very well now, so avoid ticket keywords in the domains? I don't really, I kind of look for more of a branded name. So for example, I don't I don't want to reveal the exact names of the sites that I'm using because I don't want, I'm worried about the security of the blog networks powering those, but if you think of something along the lines of, it's like cheap ticket deals, those cheapticketdeals.com or something along those sort of lines are absolutely fine. And I think where you've got kind of one word in the in the domain, and we're targeting a term like Book of Mormon tickets, I think it's too far removed, and I don't think there's any real issue there in terms of like a partial EMD red flag or negative check for Google. Hasn't been my experience anyway, Rob. Chris is asking, I'm guessing for the entire site you'd be issuing a press release, blog surge run, then drip high PR for the main domain. What would you do differently for each new page? The same process for the main domain. What I'm finding, Chris, is that let's say when I have that brand new site, yes, I still do the press release and I still do blog network run and then start feeding in more high PR links. But once it's obvious those few pages are ranking and doing well, and it seems like we've got a bit of authority built up there, I actually skip the press release step on new pages. But what I do is to make sure other pages are linking to that new page kind of straight off the bat. So pages that are already ranking really high now link to that new page, so I find I can skip the press release and just go straight to blog network and PR links for those. Hopefully that answers questions there. Tim has asked, are you ranking just with blog runs or do you have to buy high PR links? Blog network runs are really important. I don't have to buy them because I do already own enough high PR sites, but those are the guys doing the heavy lifting there. Tony has asked, doesn't it set up the next penalty with creating a large site with a bunch of inner pages, whereas we blast all inner pages of the same domain with links from the same, in other words, our own private blog network? The risk is elevated, Tony, but the funny thing is that I found from how I actually discovered this sort of ticket niche, and you might remember this from an earlier mastermind, was basically getting into it and building that site. It's just an SEO test vehicle that I just abused the hell out of and just did all kinds of horrible things, including what you've just described, but it just hung on and just kept going and going and going and going. And we're definitely going to find out the answer to that question when the next, when the next update comes along, or when Penguin is run again. We're going to find the exact answer to that question. In the meantime, those do rank really well, and the possibility of going out, for example, for me, I could go out and just do other blog network runs, but those blog networks might be publicly advertised, so that elevates risk, of course, and Google could take out that network and any sites that are linked to from that network. Plus, that would be a lot more expensive, so definitely an element of risk there. But while that money is coming in, and I also know that I have a pretty good Penguin recovery strategy in terms of moving straight to a new site, new blog network links pretty quickly. I'm sort of comfortable with that level of risk. What I saw, for example, on things like Jason Aldean and Luke Bryan and those guys with those very, very weak content pages was kind of getting rankings in 2 to 4 days of hitting it with PBN links, and immediately kind of money coming in through those ticket commissions. So even if, I know it's very churn and burn, and it definitely has that element of elevated risk, but considering how quickly potentially they can get up there and rank for quite a few long tails and get money in, for me, I'm reasonably happy with it. Matt has asked a very difficult question. Damn you, Matt, damn you. I'm joking. Am I using images provided by Ticket Network for your pages? A lot of their images are terrible. A lot of their banners are absolutely awful. We tend not to. We try to get some that are available through Creative Commons, where there is theoretically commercial license, bit of a grey area, that one. To be honest, Matt, we need to thoroughly clean up the images and reduce our exposure a lot. Gary Webster has written a great post in the training about some trouble he got into with images on his site. And in order for us to be a lot cleaner, we really need to go in and clean up our images and actually make sure that they're all just legit images. So I found generally the Ticket Network ones suck a lot. They're really bad, all their images, unfortunately. And there are other sources, but because we're kind of banging out these pages and we want to get the images quickly, we do go to like Creative Commons or whatever, but they do all need to be checked and make sure that we're you know, looking a lot more squeaky clean on that. So Paul has asked, could you just go through the mono-silo type of structure that you're using for ticket sites? I noticed the Ticket Network site has links on the sidebar separated for different sports, for example, rather than a tiered nav bar, for example. The funny thing, Paul, with these ticket sites is, even though I'm strict on mono-silos elsewhere, right at the moment my ticket sites do not have a mono-silo structure. And we actually need to fix that, but it's kind of a mess of links between affiliate links and down in the footer a load of links to other pages. So we need to clean it up. But if you go into the mono-silo site area of the training, you will see both a live demo of exactly how you can structure that, and it's nothing difficult about it, and a kind of picture-by-picture description of exactly how the link should go and how you would put that site together. So at the moment, our Ticket Network sites, unlike other affiliate sites of mine, are not structured that way. They should be, and it's definitely on our to-do list to go and clean up there. But in a way, Paul, it also shows the power of PBN links, that even without better kind of on-page optimization and internal link structure, you can still get really good links, really good rankings quickly. So definitely on my to-do list. If you get stuck, Paul, on the mono-silo stuff, just you can PM me in the training or email me at support@terrykyle.net, or leave a comment in that thread on mono-silo, and I'll jump in there and clarify anything you're not sure about. Steve has asked, would you recommend using switch boxes for maybe each new page? I've done both, Steve, so I'm also liking to test it, and I'm finding the performance is roughly similar, but obviously the smart money is to do that. There was a very interesting video from Josh Bashinsky on John Mueller's latest Hangouts about how Google is tightening up on 301s and choosing to ignore certain 301s now. And this has kind of been in the picture for a while now, that Google knows they're getting, massively manipulated by guys using 301 redirects, and they're kind of changing the rules now and saying things like, if we like the original page more than the page that it's 301ing to, we're going to show the results for the original page, in the SERPs, which is weird, because then when people click in and go to that particular site, they're going to go to the supposedly lower quality one anyway. But I think there are going to be quite a few changes on 301s, unfortunately, coming this year, because Google's kind of just had a gut for getting manipulated by those. But for the moment, still obviously a safer, better way to do it, definitely. And we also have that blog network job of yours, Steve, to keep an eye on that issue as well. All good, Paul. Okay, so we haven't gone to the hour tonight, gentlemen. I say that because I don't see any ladies here tonight. I could be in trouble tomorrow though. So I hope that was useful, and just bear in mind remember those music artists that we're getting a lot of income from at the moment. Those guys are hot, so try to, if you've already got your ticket page up, try to get some pages up for those and do a bit of SEO for those as well. As usual, if you have any questions, just come back to me underneath the recording for this one. And what I'll do now is, as soon as the video has rendered, I'll put it up on SEO Traffic Hacks now, and you can have a look at the recording and just go back through anything that may not have been clear. And tomorrow I'll come in and just add the kind of relevant links for the recording. Will be available straight away. So thank you for coming for this week's webinar, gentlemen, and I hope to see you next week. So have a good day there.